Hey, Carol, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
We can. Great.
Hey, just want to let you know, I have to leave in, let's see, what, an hour and a half, just letting you know.
Okay, we'll try and be done in that amount of time.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
That was a really nice way of telling Anton to keep it moving.
Well, I'm sorry, guys, but I'm taking a sunset cruise tonight. So,
I don't think you scheduled the right weather for that.
well, it is here in Hawaii. So,
Oh, well, never mind then.
yeah.
Yeah. Sounds way better than a sunset cruise on the St. Croix tonight.
Yeah.
It's raining and 50 degrees here.
Oh, goodness. It's like 88 here. So,
All right, well, now I'm just sad.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
All right, well, it's slightly after 6:30 here. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Let's see, after I have a document here for taking some minutes. So calling the meeting to order at, I'm going to call it 6:32. Statement of public notice hereby provided our written notice and the agenda of the public meeting as stated below. There is an opportunity for public comment as noted on the agenda upon recognition by the presiding officer. Let's see, we'll call, who do we have here? Oh, me. Let's see, Don, Eric, the Carol online. Anyone else online? No. All right, Chris is excused. Couldn't make tonight. Okay. I'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
liberty
liberty
and
and justice for
justice
all.
for all.
Take a motion to adopt the agenda.
I second it.
Any amendments? Nope. All right. Have an agenda. Approval of prior meeting minutes.
Carol Loncar, make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from September.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anyone want to make a comment about something that's not on the agenda? Nope. Then we will move right along. Okay. Review of budgets. River of budget. Review of budget. We actually have budget on here twice. The first one is to review our budget year to date, and then later on in the agenda, we'll cover budgeting for next year. So does anyone have questions about our budget here? If they do, I don't know that I can answer them. But
so everything in the urban development, that's all escrow accounts. So everything that was in it, funds that were available to go up.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that I don't know if there are other accounts, but at least everything that shows up on the everything that shows up here today are, yeah, in and out accounts. All right. And I don't have any updates from the county unless there was something in the drive that I didn't see because I didn't have a chance to check it before coming here. So I'm going to assume there's nothing from the county. All right. update on complaints. Haven't heard anything from Teresa, and she mentioned she probably wouldn't be here tonight. Lori, do you have any information on complaints? No, all right. Impact fee discussion. I think we're still waiting on Stantec. Is that going to be presented at the town board meeting tomorrow? Okay, so I think we'll just table this until next month. Right, then we get to the budget discussion, which is actually possibly interesting. Which is that we need to work out our budget for next year. Probably roughly based on our budget from last year.
Yeah, sort of. During all the. And over inflation. But other items.
Sorry. Other than the, carrying the 2022 budget over with appropriate inflation adjustments, are there any specific things we're aware of that we need to budget for that we are new spending or?
Nothing
Things
that I
we don't
can
need next
think
year?
of off the top of my head. It would be new ordinance development, but anything that we're planning for next year probably be doing once again to zoning. And that's, we did that.
Yeah, it seemed like there'd be more significant legal that or
Yeah, the one thing I can imagine is that for some of the reimbursables next year than this year was kind of slow. On the other hand, interest rates are going up and that might slow as well.
well, and reimbursements kind of,
Yeah, I mean,
I'll guess anyway, and it's
we
a-
need to budget for it.
it's a
but
net
it's-
zero, so if
yeah.
you make up a number and adjust it based on what happens, so
Exactly.
I don't worry too much about those.
Line by line here.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know why we have a separate line for subdivision and CSM reimbursables that's separate from legal and engineering. I'm going to guess that that is just a. Well, we've-
I can answer that, Anton.
Oh, thanks, Teresa.
We separated them this year because there are some costs that sometimes come about on CSMs and plats that are separate from engineering and legal. Not often, but sometimes. And
Okay,
then we separated them from zoning because some board members wanted to track whether the zoning was paying for itself or not.
okay. Sure. Okay. So, Teresa, should we put in a number for the reimbursable on the CSM other, or just leave that? As John said,
You
it's
can
kind
leave it blank because it doesn't happen too often.
okay,
And see those little numbers to the right, those numbers have to coordinate with the income side. So whatever you put in that line for reimbursable, say for legal, has to be the same up above on the income side. So the number coordinating to it is on the right.
Hmm.
Okay,
I don't think it is on what I got from the clerk here, but
oh,
But on
maybe
the-
not,
on the
but she'll
full
make
one,
sure it's
yes.
done. Yeah,
Yeah.
she'll make sure it's done.
Right,
Teresa, can you hear me?
you want to just grab the microphone? Or come up here and sit?
Have a seat. I don't bite too often.
Teresa, on that subdivision and CSM line, that's
added on for PC. Could you give me an example of when that would come into play? Because if it's not engineering and it's not legal and it's not zoning, what would it be? And is that a reimbursable as well, would you expect?
Are you looking at the other line? Or are you just looking at the reimbursable line?
Yeah,
Because
the
when it's
other.
reimbursable, we'll come back. Let me look quick. Give me a minute.
All right,
Okay, so our legal reimbursable, we've got 10,000 budgeted. It was actually about a quarter of that. But I'm comfortable just sticking with 10,000, given that it's a reimbursable line. Any objections to that?
Nope, that's what I was gonna suggest.
And engineer reimbursable was came in at 22 something. Does bumping that to 20 sound reasonable?
Would we maybe want to bump to 25? Because I don't think it's gonna be less next year than
Yep.
our actuals this year.
All
it
right,
just has to match your number above.
Yeah.
okay. Engineering and planning fees. So these are our non-reimbursable costs to the town. We budgeted 1,500. We came in this year. It looks like we're on track to hit around 3,000.
Should we probably keep that at 3,000 then for next year?
Probably.
I would think that's a good idea.
Or would it have to go up to probably about 4,500?
I could see going either way. It's worth noting that anything that we want to bump up in here has to come out from somewhere else at this point, because we've already set the board's already set the levy amount.
Well, the zoning other, we were discussing that throughout most of the year. That was 10,000. It was never changed.
Yep.
And we were discussing shifting that 10,000 around to other areas.
Okay. So the engineer planning fees to maybe 3,000. And we'll just, I will make a note that that's increased by 15. Pull that out. Legal, okay, legal reimbursable for zoning. We didn't have a budget for that. We should probably put some number in. I don't actually know what legal reimbursable zoning thing is. But
Sometimes we have to have the attorney weigh in on something that maybe there's something questionable about it, and that will probably come to light more over in commercial development. That he may have to weigh in on something as it pertains to our ordinance. This year, there wasn't much.
Anton, are you working on line 56401,
402.
402? So Teresa, you're kind of cutting out, so I didn't know if you were still with us.
Yep.
Can they just throw a number in there of the flat amount since we're in?
Yeah, they could put in, $2,000. for
I was gonna say, how about
$2,000.
2,000 for each of those?
Yeah.
We're going into new territory there.
Well, your zoning reimbursable for the engineer, you've already spent over 10 this year. On 56401, you've already spent over 10.
We don't have a year-to-date actual in there. There's no, that's blank on this form we're looking at.
Yeah, but they should have it on their budget on their table.
In the detail report.
Yes,
No, 56401, Teresa is missing on the table.
Yeah, I don't see
okay,
it
sorry.
anywhere.
No, it's on page 2 of the detail report at the top.
Yeah, I must not be looking at the right thing then.
Well, I must have a different page 2 than you, Anton,
Yeah.
because I only have a page 1.
Oh, there we go.
What number do you have?
On this one, page 2. 564.
Where are we at?
Okay. I wonder why that's not on the other sheet.
That's weird. All right,
So put in like 10,000 probably for the engineer
Okay,
reimbursable.
Take the 10,000 that was other and make it engineering reimbursable.
that's what I'm wondering.
Yep, that makes sense to me.
Does to me too. I don't think there should have been a number on that actual 5-6. That 400 zoning is just a general category.
Yep. We didn't know where it would go. Now we do.
Yep.
Zoning administrator expenses. Coming in at around 2,500 so far this year. So that probably needs to be at least 3,000 for next year.
This must be his other expenses. Well, he's,
Zoning reviews, notice of public hearings, zoning review and enforcement.
Yep.
Yep. So it looks like most of that's going to Eckberg Lammers and some to Stantec. So what number do we want for administrator expenses?
5.
5?
You only spent 2,500 so far.
Yep.
And that block,
Yeah, and keep in mind, we're only through 3 quarters, so not that I expect a lot coming through in the 4th quarter, but
Right.
I would question is. I'm wondering if that top one back in April should be in that category, if that's actually should be just legal outright. Non-reimbursable.
which one?
Which one are you looking at, Lydia?
There's that
Sorry, sorry.
$1,000 bill in that 564.10 category.
Mhm.
The big guy's barbecue line.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if that. Or maybe that's why they put it there, is because it's not reimbursable and that's the only category they had.
Mhm. I don't think 56410 is reimbursable at all.
I don't think so either.
The only reimbursable expenses are those that are directly related to the development or the zoning issue. When you're dealing with something like the expenses regarding enforcement, they have to go somewhere, and that comes under the administration part of zoning, and that's why it's under the administrator.
Okay. Well, then, yeah, then yes, I would say 5,000 is gonna could be light, but you could go for 7,500.
Only gotten 2,500 so far in 9 months, right?
You want to stick with 5?
Yeah.
I think probably stick with 5. We can bump that up if it turns out that we have more money from somewhere else that we need to pad. Let's see.
Yeah, because I'm confused by the addition. We have 56302. That's planning,
Yep.
and zoning has its own. Okay, never mind. I'm not confused. I just have to think it through.
Okay, so I don't know what the road deposit forfeiture agent FD is.
I can answer that for you. That is when people damage the road, when they're
Mhm.
building a house and we pull their deposit to pay for it.
Okay,
And we can only pay for what the damages cost us.
yep,
So all the occupancy and roads go in the 56698 and 56699. They're
Yep.
ins and outs.
and then if there's a forfeiture,
But there's a forfeiture when they damage the road or when they go into the house before they have a occupancy. So it doesn't happen often, but we get about one a year.
Okay,
Teresa, do we have to budget for those or do we just need the line item for it and it's left
You
blank?
just need the line, yeah, you just need the line item for it because it's not something you can plan on. Because if
Yep.
everybody does what they're supposed to, it doesn't happen. So that's why we don't budget, because if you do what you're supposed to, it doesn't happen.
and then the occupancy deposit and road deposit. Looks like our 2022 budget was maybe even reversed on that in terms of the amounts.
Mhm.
Yes,
So I
they
would,
were. So we put them in the right way so you guys would see it.
okay,
So this year, Teresa, on 98 should be 10 and 99 would be the 30.
Correct.
Okay,
I want to come back to payroll.
okay. Well, wait, we haven't gotten to payroll yet, but yes, let's go to payroll.
At the bottom, sorry.
Yep. It's the next group.
did you want to come back to 56301, the subdivision, the plats and the CSM reimbursable other one that we were questioning?
Yes, the reimbursable other one, you don't have to put anything in there. That's very few and far between when it happens. But it may be, you know, say mileage or something, but it also may be something like we have to do a test on something. Or, you know, something that's outside of the engineer.
All right,
Okay,
so for tonight, they need to put a 0.
So the board has been talking about, and they will talk about at their next zoning, or I'm sorry, budget meeting about increasing the payroll for the zoning administrator. You guys
Okay.
can talk about that.
to how much?
Did not come up with a number. We just briefly talked about, we said we'd talk about it in October, but I want you guys to talk about it too.
Okay. Well, at the moment, it's $1,000 a month. That we're paying Jay for being our zoning administrator.
How long's it been since he's had a raise?
January, it was 800. I don't know if that is a case of we gave him a raise between January and February, or he had some time off.
No, we gave him a raise after his review.
Okay. So in theory, we'd give him a raise again, potentially in next February. After his review.
Yes.
So went from 800 to 1,000. I could easily imagine like budgeting 1,500 a month.
Yeah, at least 12.
Teresa, do you know how much time he spends a month doing work? I mean, you know, is he making a reasonable amount per hour?
No, he is not.
Oh,
He spends a lot of time because he fields all the questions regarding zoning, plats, subdivisions. He's the first point of contact. And most of the plats and subdivisions, he can send directly on to the engineer. But when it comes to, you know, I want to put in a driveway, I want to put a shed in my plot, and they tell me I'm too close to the road. I mean, all those things, he has to really walk them through that. In addition, he's doing enforcement for us.
yeah. It
And we
sounds
have
like,
chronic places in the town that never get done.
sounds like he's providing an invaluable service and not being paid enough.
Yep.
Yeah, he's excellent.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm thinking, I agree on, Tom, you mentioned 1,500 a month. That seems appropriate from what I'm hearing, if not conservative.
Same here.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a large change in terms of percentage, but I think it's still probably underpaying him for what he's doing.
Yep.
I don't see the board going higher than that.
Yeah, that's 50% increase. so.
Yeah. And I mean, it's really up to the board, right?
Yep.
We can budget for 1,500 a month. If the board decides to go to 1,200 a month, you know, hey.
Yeah.
It's their decision.
I'd say budget 1,500. He would be hard to replace.
Yep. Payroll other. That was our minutes. Was that minute taker, Liz Trombley?
Yes, which we're still looking for someone for you, but yes.
Yep. So we went to budget roughly the same amount. Like 75 a month. Does that all come out of this account?
Well, it's 75 a month plus the Board of Appeals.
Mhm.
That all has to come out of there.
Okay. I don't see Board of Appeals on the detailed report here.
No, but her payroll has to reflect both of those meetings, because when we hired her for the Plan Commission and the Board of Appeals, and those are both planning and zoning.
Okay, so these costs are both. The actual cost that we are paying her here reflects both of those 75 a
Yes.
month.
Yes.
So I would be tempted to budget 1,200 for the year, which would
I
be like
said we want to
100.
bump that to
That's what I
100 a
was
month.
trying to calculate too. I don't think we have enough money in there.
Well, we don't have a minute taker, so obviously we don't have enough money in there.
True. Yeah, that's good. I was thinking about that earlier today. It's like, we still have our minute taker. We need to pay more.
Okay, let's see all right. So let's do a detailed report here again. So we've got legal reimbursable, engineering planning reimbursable. We've got those ones in there. Let's see, engineering planning reimbursable, legal reimbursable for zoning as well. Let's see. We have, again, this is not showing up on the detail list here for some reason, but on the sheet that let's see, if we look at the sheet from the finance committee, we have, yeah, that doesn't match up with, something must be wrong in the sheet that I got from the clerk. And I'm going to assume the finance committee one is newer, which says that we budgeted $1,500 for engineer planner fees. The finance committee sheet says that we haven't spent anything on that. The thing I got from the clerk a couple of weeks ago says that it was 2,500. So we budgeted 3,000. I think that's fair.
On the profit and loss, it's showing 51,1387.
Sorry, which one?
On the profit and loss budget to actual line 56310 engineer planner fee shows year to date at 5,113.87.
Oh. That one. Yeah, so we've got multiple conflicting numbers. All right.
Yeah, because then when you go on the transaction report, doesn't give us any hints.
Well, I am happy with the $3,000 that we put for 56310. We have a planning other category. That we didn't have anything in, we'll leave that blank. Zoning other, we budgeted 10,000 for. And we didn't have any expenses there. So for zoning other, I am actually not sure why we have zero there, because I would assume that like all of the costs related to amending the zoning ordinance really ought to be showing up in that category.
This is the same one we questioned a few minutes ago, that same line item number.
Yeah, because you only, well, that's only reimbursable. We didn't have.
The cost of updating the ordinances should be in 56910. And the reason it's probably not in there yet is that the bills are just coming in now.
56910
56910,
under ordinance development.
ordinance development and consultants.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense.
What is 56910?
I have no idea. I don't see it on
I'm not seeing
anything.
it. I have a 0.
But zoning development would make sense.
I have a 56910 on the finance committee sheet from last night. But
That
yes,
is
it's
right.
not on the,
It's not on.
it's not on the P and L.
It won't show up on there unless there's an expense in it, and there is zero
Oh,
at
got
this.
it. So it doesn't, it's,
Stuck
yeah,
on that one. So when you're seeing about this, the numbers.
So I will add a new line to the budget here for ordinance development. So in that case, do we have any zoning other, or do we just like drop that?
You have to leave others in every category like that, so I would just leave that alone, not put anything in it.
Well, what I'm saying is we have a $10,000 budget there.
Oh, I think we stuck it there, but I think you need to put it back up there in reimbursables. Or put it down there in ordinance development. I mean, you can put it one place or the other.
Yeah, I'll move it to ordinance development. That makes more sense. Yep. I feel like I should have the QuickBooks in front of me to see, look through all of the numbers. Okay. Oops.
I
You
do
know,
think that would be helpful when we're going through the budget thing.
yeah,
We're talking about numbers we're not looking at with.
the other thing that's missing from the sheet I've got here and also from the P and L is pay for the committee members, which
Let me
seems
see.
like probably ought to show up in our budget. It's 5.
Reason
Well, I'm
it's not, the reason it's not is
Mhm.
because when we redid QuickBooks, we realized that we had the PC payroll in the wrong place. It has to go under the numbers that come under the board. So that's why it has different numbers. It's what 51140
Yep.
and
511.
51150.
Mhm.
So yes, you can ask for raises on that, but it actually comes under the town board.
Okay, well, should I put it in terms of the budgeting? Do I need to worry about that here?
You guys are gonna change it, you don't, but if you'd like to change, you could tell us.
I don't think we need to change it.
I think it's fine.
Yeah, then you don't have to do anything.
Okay. I just want to make sure that like it does get carried over. All right. You and the clerk will make sure it gets carried over, I guess. So, all right, then I think that we are probably done with budget unless there are anything else that someone wants to discuss here. Let's see, I guess I will. I'm not sure if I feel like I need a motion here. I don't think I do. I will just send this to Teresa to pass it. Teresa, I'm the clerk.
Sounds like a good plan.
All right. Okay. Ordinances, yay, everybody's funnest thing. One thing of note, Teresa and the clerk had a very fun time preparing our zoning ordinance for review by the county. Because, excuse me, because Google Docs does a really horrible job of tracking changes when you actually get to the end point and trying to find out the difference. So something that's coming out of the technology committee is a recommendation that for ordinances, we actually do the work in Word and use Word's track changes natively. So we're going forward, we'll be doing that. And for people that don't have Word, we'll figure something out. So chapter 149. Take 3 or 4 here. Let's see. So changes. Great. Okay, so after talking with the lawyer at the last town board meeting, I have some verbiage that I think works. For chapter 149, where we have the road setbacks. So I'm adding adding section 149-4A, setbacks defined by zoning, which this says road setbacks are defined by chapter 170 zoning of the town of St. Joseph Code, but are repeated here for convenience. In the case of any discrepancy, chapter 170 shall prevail. Any deviation from these setbacks must be requested through the variance process described in that chapter. And then leaving in all of the setbacks in 149.
Yeah, I like that wording. I like that we're basically saying we're putting it here for reference, but the kind of the source of truth is 170, so we don't have to panic too much
If they get out of sync.
we get out of sync.
Yeah. And then the other changes in 149-19, which discusses waivers, just to add E. Note that setbacks in section 149-4 are defined by chapter 170 zoning, and deviation from setback requirements must be through the variance process defined in that chapter, not through the waiver process described here. So just repeating that if you're reading waivers because you are trying to change that, then you're in the wrong place. So do those sound okay?
Yeah, they both sound good to me. Yep.
Okay.
I think that's a good way to handle it. And it still allows the waivers to take place if someone needs to waive,
Something else.
Separation of driveways or something.
Yep. So I guess I will make a motion to forward the changes to chapter 149 to the town board for review.
I will second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. I actually found a typo as I was looking through this too, so fix the one typo as well. Chapter 49. Chapter 168. Okay, chapter 168. You changes, next change. All right, so for the minimum lot standards, getting rid of the setback requirements. Saying all buildings and any above ground improvements except for fences on any lot shall conform to the setback requirements in chapter 170 of the Town of St. Joseph Code. For convenience, the following summary may be reviewed, but in the case of any discrepancy, chapter 170 shall prevail. So roughly the same. Let's see, for the setbacks from roadways, it used to refer to chapter 149. And I'm just putting the summary in here. And again, it's referring back now to 170. So 108 feet from the center line of an access road or 75 feet from the right of way line, whichever is greater. 133 feet from the center line of subcollector or collector roads or 100 from the right of way line. And then for the minimum lot area requirements, leaving all of the lot area tables that were already in the chapter, but rephrasing to say, in addition to satisfying minimum lot area requirements in chapter 170, summarized in tables 1 through 4, though in the event of any discrepancy, chapter 170 shall prevail. All lots, blah, blah, blah. So basically trying to do the same thing in both places, which is say, you can look here. If you want to look for sure, check in 170.
Yeah, I like that language.
And I think I changed something in the table. Let's see. Yes, so the minimum lot areas for non-residential, I just changed to be consistent with what's in 170. Because that just all used to say 3 acre minimum for non-residential development. And so now we have the business park district, town center, commercial, rural mixed use district. And that's the changes there. Comments?
Well, it's good, pretty straightforward. Yeah, I agree. All right, I'll make a motion.
All right.
To. Is it recommend to the board, forward to the board? Forward
Yeah.
to the board?
Whichever you want.
I recommend that we forward to the board the revisions to chapter 168. I'll second that.
Interject. How come you did not put the same language in here on waivers as you did on 149? Back on Article 6, 168-25.
Good question. So you want me to put something in the lot area section or in the waiver section or both? I guess.
Really in the waiver section, because that's what you did on 149. So that's what I'm asking. Why don't you think it needs to be here too?
Well, but subdivision covers things that aren't covered by zoning, doesn't it? Or maybe not.
Well,
True.
some, but like the lot areas are under zoning. So I could put something similar to what I did in 149 here that says that if you're trying to change the lot area, you need to go through the variance process. I think that's a good idea and a good catch.
Yeah,
Teresa.
okay.
And which ordinance prevails?
Well, the one about which ordinance prevails is already there.
Yeah, that was in there.
I was talking that part under the 170, under the waiver, just similar to what you just did.
Yep. Whoops, hold on 1 second. I need to make sure I turn tracking back on.
And I'm sorry, I couldn't get my mute off before John started speaking, so that's why you're in this position.
Yeah,
That's
no
all right.
problem. Trying to remember, did I motion or did I second? That was such a long time ago. Well,
Dash 7.
we have to withdraw the second.
I'll withdraw my second.
And I'll amend the motion.
Yep.
To forward to the board with revisions. For waivers. Similar to the waiver changes in 149. Because I don't think we need to come, well, I'll stop, that's my motion.
I'll second that.
I don't think we need to come back to this committee to review that change.
Well, we just made it here. I can read it to you in a
Oh,
second.
you've already put it in there?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Second, I need to. I keep losing my minutes. They keep lining up behind other stuff. Okay. So I will read. Okay, so. Okay, so I have added section 168-25E under waivers. Note that lot standards, section 168-7 are defined by chapter 170 zoning. And deviation from those requirements must be through the variance process defined in that chapter, not through the waiver process described here. Does that sound fair, Lydia? Teresa?
Yes, that works for me.
Okay,
So is that E gonna go above the current E and then the current E?
the current E
F?
becomes F.
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
Yep. Yeah, it seemed like that worked better than putting it before the you can't waive this at all.
Yep.
So, but either one I think would work. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, carries. Right. Then let's see, we have potential new ordinance, short-term rentals. The one that we talked about last month, and I've made one substantive change in here. I think it's only like one change period, which I highlighted, which has under outdoor events to add the number of persons present at an outdoor event at any one time is limited to no more than twice the capacity of the sleeping quarters of the short-term rental. So if you have a house that sleeps 8, you could have potentially 16 people at an outdoor event at that property.
If somebody wanted to rent a farm,
Yep,
for example, and have a wedding,
yep.
would there be an avenue for them to do that?
Would there be a what?
Would there be some avenue, some way that they could actually do that?
Not through the short-term rental ordinance.
Wouldn't that fall under assemblies either way?
Well, not necessarily, because if it's, 100
Under
people,
250, I think, or so.
and you're on a, even on a, 10-acre parcel. I'm just curious. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I just wanted to make sure I understood.
Mhm.
It'll be interesting.
If you're renting the barn and having a wedding there, that probably would not count as short-term rental.
That falls into that other,
That falls into like an area that we don't really regulate, right?
yeah, what I
No,
was
it
thinking,
falls into zoning. It falls into zoning.
In terms of what you can do on that property, yeah.
I was just thinking of even in terms of, there's some pretty big homes on pretty big properties that you know, they might want to rent that, have the wedding, that's the place where they stay, but not necessarily in a barn.
Mhm.
Just an outdoor wedding. I think I'd be okay going, because this is gonna have to go to public hearing, right?
Right.
I'd say, look, I'm comfortable with this and to kind of get some feedback from a public hearing. If there's no pushback, fine, and if there is pushback, we can. kind of assess
We
it
and the
then.
board can figure it out. Yeah.
I like that idea. Yeah. Seems reasonable.
The only thing I was concerned about was the timing. I kept looking at that timing and saying, is this too late and too early?
The 7 to 11.
Yes. I mean, think where you live right now. What if there was an Airbnb next door to you and they decide to have, it holds 8 and they have 16 people and they're having a pool party at 11 o'clock at night next door to you? Is that really what you want? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
No, depends if they invite me over.
I agree. I agree. And then before you pass this, there was 2 things I saw in here. Number 1, there's no price for a violation. Because that doesn't go into the fee ordinance, that's in the ordinance. You have to have a violation cost. And we need an application to go forward with this ordinance for the public hearing.
Sorry, an applicant. Oh, we
Oh,
need, we
short-term
need,
rental application to,
You keep mentioning an application in this ordinance, and so we'll have to have that in order to go to the public hearing.
okay. All right, so for a violation, you say that the cost of a violation needs to be in the ordinance?
Right, it's that penalty. That's part of having the public hearing. What is the penalty? Is it
Okay.
$200? Is it $500? What's it gonna be?
Okay, and that does not go in the fee schedule?
So the fee schedule is a fee for applying for the permit.
Okay. All right. Well, I will take suggestions here for fines. Any person that fails to comply with the provision of this ordinance may be fined how much for each violation here? $100?
I was gonna start at 2.
Do we know what the violations are we're gonna fine them for?
Anything that it says that, so having 20 people in an outdoor, basically anything that is
Okay,
inconsistent with the restrictions.
100 may not get somebody's attention, but 300 or 500 would.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of saying. It's like, yeah, that's where I was starting at 200. I was thinking, somewhere between 200 and 500.
It does
Because
say,
again, for $100, I'd say, screw it, I'm gonna have 200 people over, I'll pay $100, who cares?
it is $100 a day, but
Well, it's $100 a day, but if I'm only have my party for a day.
for one day, yep.
and if it's a
That's-
big
At that point, it's
3
almost,
days,
it
who
is
cares?
almost like a fee versus a
Yep.
substantial penalty,
So
so.
500,
Yeah,
500,
maybe.
because they're not gonna probably do it more than one day.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm thinking, again, it's a penalty, I'd say 500.
I'm okay.
Give
with
it
that.
teeth.
Yeah.
Along with violations, how would enforcement fit into that?
Well, and that actually brings up a question, because is it the renters that are cited that owe us the money or the property?
It's the
owner?
property owner.
And I don't know that that was clear in here. So under penalties, it says any person, partnership, corporation, or other legal entity that fails to comply with the provisions,
Mhm.
but the property owner isn't the one failing to comply. So, maybe it's we just want to clarify that it's, because I could see a property owner say, well, fine, here's the name of the people I rented to, go ahead and collect your money from them. Do we state that that penalty is charged to whoever, to the permit holder?
Or is it to the person that the property is titled to?
Yeah,
Well, the permit holder, who's ever got the permit should be the owner of the property.
and I think we actually called that out somewhere.
Well, we define the property owner. I'm not sure if we. If we actually say that the property owner is the one who's getting the license, yeah, we do. Applications must be filed by the property owner.
Yep, so they're one and the same. So I'd maybe say that the property owner, so under penalties, just specifically call out that. So instead of,
So
Um,
instead of any blah, blah, blah entity would say any property owner that fails to comply.
well,
Or,
it's, again, it's not the property owner that's failing to comply.
okay,
It's penalties, so
well, it can be.
it can be.
So we've got like two cases, maybe that,
Yeah.
that might be two clauses that we need here.
Um,
But in terms of the legal entity, I think that becomes property owner, right?
yeah. Maybe it is just I'm just trying to think, it's like failures to comply with all provisions of this ordinance result in a penalty to the property owner or something like that. I just want to make sure we specifically call out, maybe our legal can help us with the right wording on that.
Yeah. Okay, so any property owner that fails to comply with provision of this ordinance may be fined $500 for each violation. And then we need some way to basically say. Any other. Because it's not the rental property that's not complying.
What if we say something like failure to comply with the provisions of this ordinance
Or,
may result in a fine of the property owner for each violation?
okay,
Because then it doesn't say who's failing to comply, it just says
yes,
failure to comply and
yep, any violation of the provisions of this ordinance, right?
may result in a fine to the property.
Fine. And a $500 fine
Is it a may?
to the property owner for each violation. Yeah, I like that, John.
Yeah, that's a fair question.
Sorry, I missed that.
She's asked, is it may result or will result? We should probably say will result, even though technically it may result, because if we don't catch them, it won't result.
Yeah.
If we do catch them, then it will.
And that will, yes.
Is.
And should I say a $500 fine charged to the property owner for each violation or?
Well,
Yeah, it sounds good.
how good does it sound that can we charge those fines against their taxes? If they're not paid?
Well, if it's to the property owner,
No, you cannot charge fines against property taxes, only services.
Okay.
Okay, so just to reread this, any violation of the provisions of this ordinance will result in a $500 fine charged to the property owner for each violation. Each day a violation exists or continues constitutes a separate offense under this ordinance.
sounds good.
Yeah, it does sound good.
All right,
Are you making a new section for that then in this document?
no, it's still under section 6 penalties.
Yeah, it's really revising that first paragraph in section 6.
Yeah, replacing section 6's first paragraph.
Because we're still going to keep the penalty set forth in this section shall be in addition to all other
That is an injunction.
Oh, there it is.
All right, and we need an application to go with this. I can put that together. I would be okay with either. If people want to review that application, I can bring this back next month. Or if Teresa or Lori, if you're in a hurry. Okay, not in a hurry on this one, good. All right,
No, I'm not in a hurry. It can wait another month.
sounds good.
Sounds good. It'll help keep the board meeting agenda slightly shorter for this month.
Every little bit helps.
Well, the agenda is already set anyway, so. And Todd will create an application form
So we'll actually have another meeting
before the next.
the next time we can send something to the board.
Yeah.
Anyway, so even because the board meetings,
Yeah, the board meeting's tomorrow, so we don't have
So,
time to put on that. agenda
anything
anyway,
we're
so,
recommending is really for next month.
Next month.
Okay. Yeah, then I'd say definitely let's bring it back.
Yeah, yeah, I hadn't thought of that at first, so. Okay. Recommendations to town board, we don't actually have any, I think, for.
We have 149 and 168.
We do, I guess those are recommendations to the town board. They're just not gonna be on tomorrow's agenda.
Right, not for tomorrow.
Yeah, but yes, they are recommendations still.
Oh, no, they're on the agenda for tomorrow. They're just not gonna get passed. We have to reset them for a public hearing. And the public hearing will be in November. So yes, they are on. You need to send those to the clerk tonight.
Okay,
Perfect.
sounds good. Items for next agenda, short-term rental. Also, the budget is not a recommendation to the town board, I guess, but we'll go to the town board. Anyone have anything they'd like on the next agenda?
I mean, I'm assuming impact fee is going to carry over.
There'll be one more thing coming back to you. when you get a
Yes,
chance.
impact fees should carry over. What, Teresa?
I got a call from County Community Development regarding our chapter 170. They're going to pass all the changes except one.
The
They
conservation
refuse to
one, right?
pass. They refuse to pass the one that has to do with campgrounds in the conservation district,
Yeah,
because they want to put a campground in on Eckerd Blufflands and it's not even allow them, but take it out of the 170 doesn't allow them, so they won't pass the ordinance without that in it. So what I told them was that they could pass it without that change, and that would come back to Plan Commission to recommend to the board to include that back into the ordinance, and we would not have to go back to them for another hearing.
sounds good.
Did that fly, Teresa?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so you'll see it back next month, just to
Yep.
put your stamp on
to
it and
make that
say,
one
okay.
change. Yep,
That one change, that one thing, they want the campgrounds back in the conservation district.
sounds fine. All right, I think we are done.
All right, I move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
We stand adjourned.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, Carol, you can do your cruise. Have fun.
Thank
We will
Have
be
you.
fun.
thinking
We'll be
of you.
thinking about you.
Yes, have fun.
We'll be thinking about sun and warmth.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Trying to carry too many things at once. Figure I should. Uh-oh. We have the key for the.
I haven't seen for that cover, but I can have. He is in there.
Anton, do you know if the? Oh. You have the key to get to the key to get to the key.
You have it. I do.